All right, this is my third or fourth attempt today to do the Daf Yomi. I think we're still 2 days ahead. We're on Samech Vav Amud Aleph at 66. And let's hope we don't get interrupted this time again like we did the first time. So the Gemara begins discussing with what we said about uh, non-kosher wine falling on grapes, and if they're smooth, solid grapes, you could just wash them off. But if they're pierced in any way, they're broken in any way, there's a worry that the wine would enter the grapes and then make them not kosher. And we have a Mishnah coming up later. What just happened? What was that? That discusses this question and of min b'mino, min shebe'ein amino. This is things that we always discuss. That when you have two things of the same type mixed together, one is kosher, one is not, because there's no obvious difference between kosher wine and not kosher wine. When we're talking, it could be meaning you could have wine that was produced kosher and it could be made into non-kosher wine if it's not mavushal. So if you have mavushal wine, you have two bottles of non-mavushal wine, and one is kosher and the other one's not. You could have, and they're the same type of wine. So you're going to have this min b'mino, exactly. And then there's the question of min b'she'eno mino. So if it's min b'mino, there's no such thing as no same tam. If it's two of the exact same thing, the flavor, there's not going to be any importation of flavor, and so therefore there's going to be different laws as opposed to when it's min b'she'eno mino, when it's one type with a different type, and then the question of flavor being imparted, and then it goes further into what percentage would nullify it. With yayin nesach, there's no nullification, because it's such a harbor iser, such a strong prohibition. In any event, we begin the Gemara here. Begin our Amud Chamra Tika Inve. Divrei Kol B'Neisin Tam. Chamra Chada Te B'Inve. Bayamar B'Mashahu V'Rav Amar B'Neisin Tam. So, when the talk about non-kosher wine falling on the grapes, it seems that everyone agrees that old aged wine is with no same time, because it's not the same. The flavor is quite different when it's aged, when it's wine. Like Rashi says, Tamei Nikar B'Navim. You're going to recognize the flavor on the grapes. So everyone agrees that it's only prohibited when the flavor is imparted onto the grapes. When it comes to new wine that's not kosher, that fell on the grapes, what we mean here is grape juice. So bias is if grape juice falls on grapes, even a little bit, then it's already not kosher, because it's min b'mino. It doesn't impart any flavor. However, Rava says no, it doesn't impart flavor. And so therefore, the iser is b'neisin tam. However, Rashi gives a different approach. That's how we might learn it at first, But chada to b'nois and tam. Why is this happening? What is this? Who's playing on my phone? The grape juice with a b'nois and tam. So Rashi says, chol hekad itmar b'nois and tam v'in tam v'nikar have a shira b'shisha. So Rashi says anytime when there is a statement of no saint tam that the flavor is imparted, but it's not so, the flavor is not so obvious. So then what's considered no saint tam is 1 out of 60 parts. Is what we call no saint tam. 1/60th. So Baya says that even a little bit, even if it's less than 1/60th, makes it not kosher. Basar time as linen, because we follow the taste. And grapes and grape juice taste the same. So since they taste the same, they're considered to be the same type. And when you have two mixtures of the same type, the prohibition is even the slightest amount. Rava says that when we say this idea of being the same type of thing, it's not the same type of flavor, it's the same type of item. And so we follow the name. And since grape juice and grapes are two different things, so then it can be relegated to the level of no saint tam, of imparting a flavor. And if no flavor is clear, because Rav agrees with Abaya that grape juice and grapes taste the same, so then like Rashi says, it would be shishim, would be 1/60. If it's less than that, then it's kosher, and if it's more than that, it's not. Because grape juice is one thing, has one name, and grapes is a different name. They don't actually call it grape juice, they call it new wine. The feast of the new wine, right? Bum 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 bum, fa la la fa la li. For he's the man we love the most, fa la la fa la li. Anybody knows where that's from? Favale min b'sheina minai, min b'sheina mina b'neisim tam. So, seeing as two different types, two different species, even though it's the same species, but they're two different things. So therefore, the prohibition is only when the flavor is imparted. Tanan, so you have a Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that if non-kosher wine fell onto grapes, if the grapes were broken, it's not kosher, and if the grapes are smooth, it's kosher. Kasal kedaitek cham echada tebinvei. My love b'nais and tam. So the Gemara seems to be assuming here that we're talking about new wine, we're talking about grape juice. So therefore, it should be noted the way grape juice is made today, though, is not, it never can turn into wine. There's a whole question of our modern day grape juice being actually kosher, although poskim have said that it is. But there's a question: can you make kiddush and arbitration and so forth with the grape juice that we have today? I'm talking about kosher grape juice because it's cooked first. The grapes are actually cooked in order to prevent it from ever fermenting, and that's why. So what? It's not really proper to call this new wine grape juice, although that's what it really is, or it's more like unfermented wine. It's ma'alav and and tam. So when we say it's within parts of flavor, loy b'mashu. No, the yain nesech would make the grapes prohibit even the slightest amount. Hagmart Sefer Zel Klal Kashaban Nasei B'Neisan Tam. Kol Shein B'Nasei B'Neisan Tam Mutter Aser. Kol She'B'Nasei B'Neisan Tam Aser. Kol Shein B'Nasei B'Neisan Tam Mutter. Miklal B'Neisan Tam Eskinan. And in the Mishnah we see as a general rule, anything where the flavor is beneficial, it's prohibited, and if the flavor is imparted and it's not, it's kosher. And so therefore it shows that the whole Mishnah is talking about no Saint Tom. But Abaya would say no, that this Mishnah is talking about aged wine, alcoholic wine. Chalad Chamer v'Chalad Shichra. Chamir the Chita v'Chamir the Sari. We have other cases that are similar. The question of no Saint Tom. If wine, vinegar, and beer vinegar got mixed together, the wine vinegar we would say would be non-kosher wine. Beer vinegar is going to be kosher. They got mixed together. Or wheat leaven and barley leaven got mixed together. The Rashi says one was truma and one was chulin. One only a kohen could eat, and one anyone could eat. Bayam Rabbanais and Tam. Abaya says that the prohibition is if there's a flavor imparted. But their time is leaning because we follow the taste. If they're similar or dissimilar, if they have dissimilar tastes, they have dissimilar kinds. High time lechud, high time lechud. So wine vinegar tastes different than beer vinegar, and wheat leaven tastes different than barley leaven. So then it's not the same kind. If they're two different kinds, the prohibition is imparted when the flavor is imparted. Here Rava says it's with the smallest amount, because he's being consistent, even though last time he was lenient and this time he's strict and it's opposite. But because the consistency is that we follow the name, and if high chalamikri v'high chalamikri, they are both vinegar. They're both leaven. When we say leaven, we mean like sourdough. So they're the same kind, and it's always whatever it is, the smallest amount. Abaya says, "Mana mina etla, the basar taimas linan." Why would we say that we follow the flavor? Sanya, the snan of a Mishnah. Mishnah in Orla, Tavlin, Shnayim, Shloish Shemes Hein Min Echad. If you have spices that have two or three different names, but they're all one kind, meaning the example we could have, what do you mean of spices? Hachi Garsin Maseches Orla Gimel Shemes V'Hein Min Echad. Rashi says this is how we learn in Masechtas Orla. Three different names, and they're all one species. Kegoin Pelpel Lavan, Pelpel Shachar, Pelpel Aruch. You have black pepper, white pepper, and long pepper. Min Gimel v'Gimel Shemes. Yesh lehen Isurim Mistarfen. So then they go together and they mix. So other ways to learn the Gemara will follow like Rashi. So you have two or three different names, all one species, or min shloisha, or three different species, three different spices. Asurin umistarfen. and if for some reason they're not kosher, and they fell into a pot, and when they combine, it's enough that if one by themselves would be flavorless, essentially. It wouldn't really impart any major flavor. But the fact that three are mixed together, that gives it a flavor. So then they're not kosher because the seasons combine together to prohibit the whole dish. Chizkiah said, the spices we're talking about, the seasonings, are if they are sweet, they're sugary. Because they're going to sweeten the pot. Meaning we're not talking about three different. We could be three different that are sweet or three different that are sharp. The point is that all three are doing the same job, not that they're competing to create the flavor. That you have one that's sweet and one that's salty, one that's savory, one that's sharp. Yamart b'shlama basar taimas linan. So if you say, well, obviously we're going after, it makes sense if we're following the flavor. They all have the same flavor. But if you're saying go after the name, each has a different name. So meaning, so like we said, so does it go by the flavor or by the name? That's the question. Rav Amalach, so Rav says, Hamani, who's this? Remeir, it's Remeir. Son Rabbi Yehuda, Rishon Remeir, Rabbi Yehuda son Remeir, Menayin l'chalusun sh'b'term sh'mar from zemzeh. How do we know that various prohibitions of all mixed together to form one prohibition? Meaning, if not one of them is enough to form a prohibition, but if they are mixed together, they do. Shenamar le'seichal kol teyeva. It says in Deuteronomy 14, verse 3, you should not eat any abomination. Means that anything that's I made abominable for you is in this prohibition of not eating. And so therefore, if you mix together enough to make a kazayas from different species, it works out to be not kosher. The question is, if non-kosher vinegar fell into kosher wine, everyone agrees that it's only prohibited if the vinegar flavors the wine. But if a little bit of wine fell into vinegar, a little bit of non-kosher wine fell into kosher vinegar, Abaye said even a little bit prohibits it. And Rava says it's been nice in tam if the flavor is imparted. Bayam or mashu. Abaye says only even a little bit. Why? This is a short amud. Reiche chala v'tayma chamra chala. If something smells like vinegar but tastes like wine, it's vinegar. Remains vinegar. Avale min b'minai. So therefore, it's min b'mino. It's the same species together. Chol min b'mina b'mashu. So if they're two of the same kind, even if the slightest amount prohibits. Rav Amar b'nais and tam. Rav says it's only if there's a flavor. Because he says if something smells like vinegar but tastes like wine, it's still wine. There's two different kinds. So the only way that two things of different kinds, that the small amount can prohibit the bigger amount, is if it imparts a flavor. What about Hai Bas Tiha? What if a wine stopper that has that you can smell to know what kind of wine? If someone's a connoisseur, they can know something by smelling this wine stopper. Akum de Israel Shaper Dame. Can a pagan smell a Jew's wine through it? That's okay if that happens. Israel Bada Akum, Ayamaraser Ravam Mutter. But can a Jew smell the pagan's wine as to be a connoisseur, to serve, to rate the wine? He's not actually drinking it. Abai says it's not allowed, and the Rava says it is allowed. Abai Amar Asar Recha Milsehi. Abai says it's prohibited because smell is something that's considered substantial. Rava Amar Mutter Recha Lav Milsehi. Rava says you're allowed to smell because smelling is not substantial, not considered a real thing. I remember reading in the Zmiris Divrei Yol, they said one Shabbos, Satmarov, supposed to be Gadleinu, was too sick to eat the Shabbos foods, but he wanted to have some connection to the traditional Shabbos foods, because each one has an intent and a meditation involved with it, according to the traditions that he received. And so therefore,
we're gonna beat this gross, evil, living dead dog creature Black Lagoon, and my other one is Flash. And I am Batman, slimy vampire. Ow!
okay. So he smelled the foods because he couldn't eat them. It was too sick to eat them. So he said, now we're paskening that Recha Milsehi, that smell is aroma, a scent is something substantial. Amar Rava hava mina la de Recha v'lei klumhu. So Rava said, where do I get this idea that smell is insignificant? The Snan Tanur shesika b'chaman shel truma v'afa b'is apas muteres l'fisha ein tam kamen al reicha kamen. So what if an oven was fired with truma cumin, and bread was baked in it, and then a non-Kohen could eat the bread because the actual pieces of cumin don't attach to the bread, only the aroma, and it doesn't even give a taste, only a smell. V'abaya shiny hasam the mikle surei. Bias is there when it's in an oven, it got burnt up, so there's no actual prohibition left. So that's the reason. Amar Rav Mari Kasidnai. Rav Mari said this is like the following machlekes tanoim, following dispute between rabbis from the Mishnaic era. Roy the Paschama, the son al pichavish shel yain shel truma, Rabbi Meir Oiser, Rabbi Yehuda Matir. Someone takes hot bread out of an oven and puts it on the mouth of a cask of truma wine. Rabbi Meir says that only Kohanim can eat that bread and no one else, the family of the Kohanim. Rabbi Yehuda says it's permitted for all Jews to eat this bread. Rabbi Yosi mater b'shel chitin, v'oisa b'shel sorin. And Rabbi Yosi says that wheat bread, it would be kosher in this case, but barley bread would not. Because barley soaks up more, so it soaks up the smell till the point where it has a flavor that you can actually taste. My love b'hakim afligi. So isn't this what we're arguing here about the question of Neis and Tam and Recha Milsa? The Marsav and Recha Milsa here, Marsav and Recha v'lei klum here. Because Rameir holds that smell is something real, and Yehuda holds it's not. Rav Avade Tanoihi. So Rav says for sure it's like this argument between the Tanoim. Labaya mi lemar Tanoihi. According to Abaya, why would he say it's a dispute from the Tanoim? Amalach Abaya. So Abaya said, Lav mi itmar Allah. Didn't we say about this? Amar Rabbi Rachana Reish Lakish. Rachanas and Reish Lakish b'fas chama v'chavas psucha. If it's hot bread on an open cask of wine, because then it's absorbing the flavor. Everyone agrees it's not kosher. If it's cold bread and corked wine, everyone agrees it's kosher. So then we're gonna discuss this tomorrow because it's already another daf. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. All the best. Put this one here.